Welcome to the Adventures of Adam. I'm Adam. Let's adventure. Today we're going to be taking a look at a community fan theory about who this bird might be, and I believe they've solved it. In this video, they also talk about other theories that they have, and I'm going to talk about why I agree or disagree with them. Let's dive in, shall we? So, first off, credit where credit is due. The first person who I saw bring attention to this image was HLock Gaming. In his video, he shows these images, talks about what mythologies they hail from, and theorizes why he believes that they bear significance to the story. And that ties directly into Ragewood's video, which we're going to do a little bit deeper of a dive into it. Now, it's not that I don't believe that Ragewood could have solved it without HLock Gaming, but I do think when HLock made his video, it planted the seed, laid the groundwork for Ragewood. So, but I do believe that image bears a high level of significance. If you go to the Fateless YouTube page, check out their videos, you'll see that their podcast that goes into story, lore, and IP features this exact image that HLock was breaking down in his video. So we can see it here. So clearly, I don't think this is a coincidence. I think they are not so subtly trying to steer us in this direction. But let's listen to what Ragewood has to say about it.
If you're seeing any high production cinematics, within those cinematics, there may be a clue that can get you.
How about that?
Yeah,
okay.
that can get you something later on. So
Okay.
that's the thing. I guess that would be one start. I appreciate.
There you go.
Also, quick shout out to WizD Gaming for prompting the question, or asking the question that prompted the answer.
Brad is saying he appreciates him asking. Obviously, Brad has been a CC for a long time and would do the same thing for his community. So, a particular sort of high cinematic video that we might have seen, I wonder what that could be. Shockingly enough, they are, of course, talking about the GODFORGE announced trailer that we saw a month ago now, coming up for a month. Not entirely sure. Now, they mentioned that if we pay close enough attention, there will be some Easter eggs or spoilers shown to us. Now, we've all speculated on one particular thing about this, and that is this scene right here. You know, right now.
In my initial theory, my first impressions, I assumed it was a raven and that it was tied to Odin's lore. But I couldn't figure out how it was all connected.
We have this room, this antechamber, which none of us know about, and we have the markings on the wall. Now, with that Easter egg in mind, it made me think, I think that Gilgamesh here is in a reliquary, a secret room, something like that. And if we look at these sigils on the wall, they actually relate to 3 of the characters that we see in the trailer. Then the top left is the son of Ishtar. Ishtar is Eka, which is Babylonian, Mesopotamian, Sumerian. And we know that Gilgamesh is one of the oldest surviving myths out there, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is in the Eka faction. We also have Ra. Ra is the Egyptian sun god, an all-powerful being. And beneath this we have the Eye of Horus, a symbol synonymous with ancient Egypt. We also have Brunhild. Now, Brunhild is an Asgardian faction member, and the Vulcanite here is a sigil or symbol to do with Odin. Odin, of course, exiled Brunhild. And then that leaves here, the Triskelion. The Triskelion is associated generally with Celtic mythos, but we don't see any Celtic heroes in the trailer. Or do we?
Boom, mic drop.
Now, the Triskelion is often associated with the Morrigan. But where does the Morrigan come into all of this? So what we're going to do, I'm going to pull up a wiki, and then it will become majorly apparent where I got this from. So the Morrigan. We have spoken about this before, but only now has it just clicked. She is a prominent figure in Irish mythology associated with war, fate, death. But in the important part here, she is known for her shape-shifting abilities, particularly that as a raven or a crow. Her role as the harbinger of death, bringer of war. Now, to begin with...
Okay, not to interrupt Ragewood, because he's cooking right now, but he focused heavily on this raven or crow bit, which I would too, because that was like the epiphany moment. But the part that I was the most interested in is this part after, in her role as a harbinger of death and bringer of war. That piqued my curiosity, because not only does that shed light on who this raven or crow character is, it might even help peel back the layers of what her motivations are. And let's let Ragewood finish cooking here, and then I'll talk about my theories more in depth.
Harbinger of death, bringer of war. Now, to begin with, we all thought this was Odin's raven. Simon said it's not a raven. He actually called it a crow.
And we can see that here. No, this one. We've got like 20 tabs open.
Like fully rendered in this kind of like high-res cinematic quality. And then we have a couple of like other smaller characters that we brought in, like the crow and like the berserker.
If it was a raven, he would have called it a raven. So, like, Simon's a smart dude. He's, forgive my crudeness, but he's balls deep in this project. If it was a raven, if it was Odin's raven, he would not have mistakenly referred to it as a crow. That was deliberate. He called it a crow because it's a crow. Okay, let's jump back over to Ragewood.
Or perhaps even a blackbird. I'm going to roll with crow here, and I'm going to say this is the Morrigan. Now, what fate or something she is deciding here, no one knows, but I think our first reliquary team that will unlock something will be Gilgamesh, Ra, Brynhild, and the Morrigan. Perhaps that is a leak or a confirmation that the Morrigan will be in the game under the Avalonian faction. And that is where I'm going to leave it today.
I think he's close, but I disagree. Because imagine if you were a player in this game, and the way that we unlock these super powerful legendary artifacts is by discovering the secrets behind the reliquary. And the only way to unlock the reliquary was to have Brynhild, which is an epic, and I have theorized that she will be given to us for free either at the start of the game or within like the first week or so. But then Ra, who is a legendary, who else did he say? We don't know the rarity of Gilgamesh. And then another legendary, perhaps? It seems like a lot, and a very specific champion's required. I don't think that's going to be the case. However, now, I was actually talking to Ragewood in the Discord about this last night, and we were just kind of joking back and forth. I told him I was going to do this video, but I swear I heard Simon say it at some point. Maybe he typed it in the Discord, or maybe it was in a podcast, but I watched like 10 to 15 videos last night trying to find the one where I was pretty sure he said it and I couldn't find it, but I'm like 90% sure at some point I heard Simon say that to unlock the reliquaries, you wouldn't need any one specific champion. It's going to be more broad. Maybe you need to bring a champion who does this type of attack, or like this type of debuff. This type of debuff, or maybe a champion from this faction, but you'll never need like specific legendaries. I could not find where he said that. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. But I remember it plain as day. Maybe he typed it in the Discord and I read it in his voice, so I could just imagine myself hearing him saying it in a video. I couldn't find where he said it, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Rage would have nailed it. But there's one more piece of evidence in this video, and it's actually not in the video itself, but in the comments below. We come down here. Hell Hades replies with a eyeballs emoji, seemingly shocked by the findings. He doesn't reply to any of these comments. But then just below that, Rachel_Fateless, you may know her better as Lady H, replies with 3 detective emojis, implying that Detective Ragewood is once again on the case. So while they're not outright confirming everything he said is true, they're certainly hinting that he's onto something here. And I definitely think he is as well. But earlier I spoke about how I think the Morrigan, as she's called, being like the harbinger of war and fate, might play a role into her motivations, her motives. But let's dive further into the wiki here. So I read all of this and I got to this part right here, this section called Arthurian legend. Now, we already know King Arthur, and many of the Knights of the Round Table are going to be in GODFORGE. We've seen a small handful of them so far, King Arthur in particular. So I thought this really jumped out at me and caught my attention. There have been attempts by some modern researchers and authors of fiction to link the Morrigan with the character Morgan, the latter often being depicted in the legend as a fairy or otherwise supernatural sister of King Arthur. Morgan first appears in literature in Geoffrey's Monmouth's 12th century and Vita Merlini as a goddess-like figure in no blood relation to Arthur, whom she takes to her otherworld-style land of Avalon, following his mortal wound in battle. Avalon is the name of the King Arthur faction. So that kind of interesting. In some Arthurian texts, such as Sir Gawain the Green Knight is all confirmed to be in the game, Morgan is portrayed as a hag whose actions set into motion a bloody trail of events that lead the hero into numerous instances of danger. Morgan is also depicted as a seductress, much like the older legends of the Morrigan, and has numerous lovers whom she might even abduct for this purpose, as in some of the stories of Lancelot and Ogier the Dane, among others. The character is frequently depicted as wielding power over others to achieve her own purposes, allowing those actions to play out over time to the benefit or detriment of the other characters. So this is what caught my attention right here. The character is frequently depicted as wielding power over others to achieve her own purposes. Ragewood remarked how she is the harbinger of fate and war. Could it be that this Morrigan, or Morgan, which as she is often depicted as in Arthurian legend, which ties into the lore of what we know to be in GODFORGE, it would make so much more sense for them to depict Morrigan as Morgan the Fae, to tie her into the Arthurian aspect of the game, since we know those characters are going to be present. Is it possible that she is influencing Gilgamesh to enter this area that Ragewood speculates is the reliquary to destroy what Hell Hades referred to as the Aether Well? Was he manipulated in some way? And was this part of a bigger plot to start some sort of cosmic war between the gods? Is Gilgamesh just a chess piece on a board? Is he a pawn in some larger scheme? I think he might be. But something interesting that came up.
The idea of Gilgamesh comes in and, you know, his kind of like epic tale. We also wanted to try and convey that feeling of, I'm not sure if he knows what he's up to right now. Like he's almost having a moment of reflection before he gets on and does the deed.
Yeah.
And then a couple
maybe he's being manipulated.
of other like mystery Easter eggs are in there as well. Just that you'll start to see play out in our story. So, I mean, a lot going on. I guess
there is a lot going on.
So, obviously, our villain here in this, or our dude that's coming in to take.
He refers to him as the villain. And then he backtracks a bit. So maybe he realizes it's not fair to call him the villain. Maybe he's being manipulated by this Morgan character. who is known to be able to shapeshift into a blackbird or a crow.
Things on. Gilgamesh powering his way through the ether well.
So now I think I'm feeling really good that the mystery of who the blackbird is solved. I think I'm onto something with the motive. I don't know why Morgang wants to start a cosmic war between the gods, or what the Aetherwell has to do with it, or what Gilgamesh has to do with it. Why Gilgamesh? I've got Gilgamesh's wiki pulled up. I haven't read through it all. I have dyslexia and it was making my brain melt. So I've done enough reading for one day, but I'm going to continue to look into it. I'm going to talk with some other content creators, see if they can come up with any theories as to why Morgang would manipulate Gilgamesh specifically to do her bidding. Why Gilgamesh? Why is he important? What is his role in all of this? I just wanted to point that out. I thought Ragewood's video was great. Clearly, Simon and Lady H herself seem to quite subtly point out the fact that he's onto something without giving away too much, which I think is the perfect way to approach it. It leaves things open to interpretation and speculation, which is really fun. I've been having so much fun the last 2 days making these speculation videos that I think I'm going to pick up the old detective's hat once more, don it myself, and do some more GODFORGE deep dive style speculation videos such as these. Anyway, I think this was a fun video. I really think Ragewood nailed it on who this blackbird or crow character is, and I think it would have. I think the creators of the game will have a perfect opportunity to tie it into the Avalon faction if it is indeed, Morgang or Morgan in the Arthurian legends, and if it is in fact Morgan from the Arthurian legends, and she has a tendency to use people for her bidding use others to a means to her own ends. It would make sense that she's manipulating Gilgamesh here to do her bidding, but that just raises more questions. Why Gilgamesh? What role does he have to play in all this? Is there something special about him in particular that we've missed, we've overlooked? Are there dots yet to be connected? I guess that's a topic for another day. If you have theories of your own, please let me know. I'll probably be talking with some of the other content creators in days to come after this, after I upload this, and trying to solve it together. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully I will see you all in another video soon, but until next time, everyone, take care.